everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Today I'm going to be doing my July TBR. If you're wondering where my June wrap-up is, it doesn't exist because I did not finish a single book in June, which that has to be the first month in probably 7+ years that I have not finished a book. It was very upsetting, a little disturbing, but granted I was going through a lot of stuff in June, so I guess it's kind of to be expected. And in July I'm moving, so I don't know how much reading I'm gonna get done this month, but nonetheless I really want to try and get back into reading because it was very upsetting at the end of the month knowing that I didn't finish any books in June, and it was probably the reason that I was so stressed out because I wasn't taking time to do the things I enjoy doing, like reading. So in July, even though I am moving, I really want to actually take that time to sit down and still read a book. I also have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of waiting around when furniture is being delivered between 7-hour periods and you don't know when they're going to show up. So I'm hoping that I'll get a little bit more reading done in July than I did in June. So I've got 6 books on my TBR, which might be a little bit ambitious, but nonetheless, let's just jump into it with the first book, which is the one I'm actually currently reading, Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. I am less than 100 pages from the end of this book. I really thought I was going to finish this one in June, but I just didn't, but I'm definitely going to finish it either today or tomorrow. This is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. I am super enjoying this series. I can't believe I waited so long to pick it up, but it feels so nostalgic for me. Even though I have never read the books before, it just feels so nostalgic to the types of series that I used to read a couple years ago because, like I mentioned in one of my last videos, I think I kind of have drifted away from reading fantasy books and series and YA just in general, so this series just feels so nostalgic for me even though I haven't actually read it before. But this is the first book that I hope to finish in July, being that I'm less than 100 pages from the end of it. And then after that, I hope to pick up Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas, which is the third book in the Throne of Glass series, and this one got significantly chunkier than the last one. So like I said, this might be a bit of an ambitious TBR for the month of July, but I still hope to get to it because I'm loving it so much. I hope I'll be able to read it a little quicker than how it looks. And then also I have The Assassin's Blade, which is a collection of Throne of Glass novellas, which I'm not super familiar with exactly what this book is going to be about. I want to say that these novellas are prequels to the series, but I'm not sure. They might run parallel to the series. I really don't know, but this is also kind of a bigger book. I'm really used to novella collections being the size of Happily Ever After from The Selection, or Stars Above from the Lunar Chronicles, or 4 from the Divergent series, all of which are collections of novellas that are pretty short. So when this came in from the library, I was like, what is this average-sized book being full of novellas? Nonetheless, I want to pick it up, and I heard that between Heir of Fire and the next one, or even between the second one and this one, is a good time to read this. But if you have any recommendations as to when exactly I should pick this book up in relation to this third one, let me know, because I don't want to accidentally spoil myself by reading them in the wrong order. So those are all of the Throne of Glass related books that I have on my TBR, but then I have 3 other books. So first up we have a mystery thriller, which is Bring Me Back by B.A. Paris. I found this for $6 at Barnes & Noble, and I had to pick it up because I have read 2 other books by this author. One was Behind Closed Doors, and I gave that 5 stars. It's one of my favorite thriller books ever. And then I also read a book called The Breakdown, which I think I gave 4 stars. So overall, this has been a very successful author for me. So when I saw this for $6, I thought, I have to pick it up. I have no idea what it is about. It has a very cool looking cover because I don't see a whole lot of yellow covers, so this is just a fun thing for me to be seeing. I don't know, that was weird. But what it says on the back, it's very vague. It just says, she vanished. A decade ago, his girlfriend disappeared. He lied. He told the police the truth about that night, just not the whole truth. Their secrets won't stay buried. Now he's moved on, but the past isn't done with him yet. So I have no idea what to think of this book from that synopsis, but just considering the history that I have with this author, I feel like this book is going to be pretty good, and I'm very excited for it. The next one that we have is another sequel, actually, and that is The Betrayed by Kira Cass. So this is the sequel, and I believe the ending to The Betrothed, which is the first book, and I read that book last year. I don't super remember a lot that happens in that book, but I also remember that not a lot happened in that book, so maybe what I remember is literally all that happened. And it's kind of a complicated relationship I have with the book because there really wasn't very good things to say about it. Like, it really wasn't that good of a book, and yet I did find myself always wanting to pick it back up whenever I put it down. So of course when the sequel released, I just went out and I bought it because I just figure, you know, at the most it's gonna be a good time. That's kind of how this author is for me, is it's just like a good time. And frankly, that's kind of what I need right now. Like, with everything going on in my life, I don't need something super complicated, probably like Throne of Glass, which isn't super complicated. It's actually pretty easy for me to follow considering it's like a high fantasy book. But nonetheless, what I'm trying to say is, being with everything going on, I feel like this is probably a pretty good book for me to pick up at this time in my life. So maybe her writing and such will have improved since her last book, you know. We can only hope. Like, what we all thought would happen after the selection, maybe it'll happen after this other book. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm making sense at this point because it's been so long since I've like filmed videos. It's only been like 3 weeks, but like I will lose things that quickly. So the final book on my TBR is The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. Shocking, I know. I've never read this book, never watched the movie, have no idea what it's about. I've read 2 other Nicholas Sparks books. One was A Walk to Remember. I actually read it twice because I loved it. It's a 5 out of 5 star read, one of my favorite books. I then read A Message in a Bottle, and I hated that book. So this is going to be like the tiebreaker for Nicholas Sparks as to whether A Walk to Remember was just like a one-hit wonder kind of book, but he is not the author for me, or if Message in a Bottle was just a dud kind of book, and maybe I will enjoy his stories. We'll find out when I finish this book. So, like I said, I don't know what it's about because I've never seen the movie or anything like that. I feel like most people have either read the book at this point or have definitely seen the movie, or at least know what it's about because I feel like the movie is very much a classic, but I literally have no idea. As you can see, I did start it. I read the first chapter and a half. I'm on page 18. So from the first 18 pages, without having like read the back or anything like that, from what I get from it, we're following a guy and a girl. I think it takes place in the 40s, which is not what I expected at all. Like, I remember A Walk to Remember took place in the 50s, I think. So I just never expect from like contemporary looking books that they're gonna take place in like the 40s or the 50s, but I think it's a really cool setting. Maybe that's why I didn't like Message in a Bottle, because I'm pretty sure that was a more modern book. But anyways, it takes place in the 40s. We're following a man and a woman, and a few years previous to when the book takes place, they were together, like in a relationship or something like that. They broke up or went their separate ways for whatever reason, and then I think they're gonna make their way back together in this book. So I'm kind of going into this book with absolutely no expectations because I could love it like A Walk to Remember, but I could hate it like Message in a Bottle. So I'm just going into it with nothing in my head, which is how I go into most books. But anyways, those are all of the books on my TBR. I will tell you, I'm actually very much in the mood to pick up a horror book because yesterday I went to see The Conjuring 3 and I absolutely loved it, which was another movie that I went into it with like no expectations because I loved the first Conjuring film, didn't like the second one, but this third one, I think it might be my favorite of the Conjuring trilogy. So now I'm very much in the mood to pick up a horror, but like not just any horror. I want to read something about like the occult or something like that, which isn't any kind of horror book that I have on my shelf at the moment. So if you have any recommendations for books like that, let me know in the comments. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!